All right, we'll open our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Okay, first item we have is agenda approval.
I don't have any changes.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Right,
I'll second.
all right, Shar and Tom. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And public input. If you have public input, come on forward and state your name and address and.
Yep.
And have at it.
All right, my name is Mark Keller. I live in Bedore Township. I'm a Bedore Township Supervisor in charge of the roads. And we have a concern with County Road 109 on the east end. It goes from 64 to 13. And if you would drive that today, it's unbelievable how rough, how dusty, dirty. And the other end, which I drove today from 13 to Hubbard, is probably in better shape than 87. It's smooth, it's chlorinated. Why is the other end not getting done? I was told because of the traffic volume on the Hubbard end. I sat one morning and waited for 20 vehicles to come up to that intersection. Do you know how many went straight west? None. Everybody turns right or left. They go to Huntersville, or they're going up to 87. I mean, our neighbors, when they go to church in Hubbard, they don't take 109 west, they go up to 87, they go to church. It's like we're on the end of nowhere. I can throw a rock into Wadena County, I can throw a rock into Cass County, but we pay taxes here. In Bedore Township, we take, because of the road, we use Durablend, but we don't Durablend cornfields and hay fields, potatoes. I stake areas around the residents. The truck comes, they start and they stop wherever I've staked. It might be something the county could look at, because from probably 1.25 miles from 64, there is nothing all the way to First Crowing Lake where it's tar. You live in District 3 and have you been on that road?
Not in a long time, but I can go
Please
check
do.
it out. Yep.
Because 5 minutes after you've gone, the dust trail is still, I mean, I don't care if it's chlorinated from one end to the other, but we have people living. And there's another one just moved in permanently on 110 and 109. There's 3 lakes on the east end with over 50 cabins. That traffic has to come from somewhere because they can't just get there. So they're either coming from 64 or they're coming from 13. We have semi-trucks. It's unbelievable the amount of traffic that comes on 109. And I was told by the highway that volume, it doesn't matter how many homes, it's traffic. Tell me where they're going on that west end. There's nothing in Hubbard anymore. There's no bars, there's no restaurants, there's nothing, but that road is immaculate. It's almost like who lives there instead of how many. Yeah, I don't know what else to come up with, but I mean, we use Durablend. It's a little more expensive to put down, but it lasts a lot longer, and in the end, it's actually a saving product. We're just frustrated because of the dust and the roughness of the road. 2 weeks ago, there was 2 grader operators parked on 109. They had just finished the course, the west end, graded it down, they were packing it. And I asked them, and they said, oh, there's a lot more traffic over there. I said, where's the traffic? While we were talking, 4 vehicles pulled up to that stop sign. 1 went to the left towards Huntersville, 3 went to the right towards 87. I said, there's your point, where's the traffic going? It doesn't use that road, but yet they're getting all the treatment. And you wouldn't have to do the whole thing. Just do it where the first 1.25 miles has all the homes. There's 5 full-time residents and 20 seasonals in that stretch, that first 1.25 miles. The rest of it is pine trees. And I think 3 years ago was the last time that road was chlorinated, and they did the whole stretch. Fine, but you could save the county some money. And like we do in Bedore, we're not chlorinating or durablending cornfields.
When you're referencing the,
What's that?
the east end or the first mile and a half, which end? Is it the west end of
No,
109?
the east
or
side,
the
right
east
off
end?
64.
Right off
If you
64,
turn off
okay.
64 and head west,
Yep. I've noticed a lot more traffic on that road when I go by there. Usually, many years ago, you'd go past the intersection of 109 and 64, you wouldn't see a vehicle sitting waiting to get out onto 64. Now, it seems like every time I go that way, there's a vehicle there and somebody turning to go west on 109. So
Well, there's a
traffic
lot.
has definitely increased.
there's a lot of traffic that's now, after 87 was done, they used 109 as a shortcut. But that's 3.5 miles up to Bedore, and then the twisty turny 8 miles to roughly like Round Bay or the 13. So they're cutting through. There's only 2 corners on 109 from 64 all the way to First Growing Lake. Yeah, we're getting semi-trucks, and all we're asking is at least what the other end is getting. So if you've seen it, you know have you been on it with the?
I haven't been on it recently, no.
Try it.
I'll have to drive. Last time I was on 109 is when they did have a detour for last summer doing the work on 87. It was very dusty then, but then it was used a lot with
Oh,
the
it's,
detour.
since, the pipeline went through, it was well-maintained, but we had probably 30 trucks a day from Bacchus in the staging area for Enbridge, was that? All right, and they would drive by. And they kept it chlorinated, they kept the dust down, and ever since then, it's just like, we're a forgotten world over there.
I'll try it.
Yeah, I encourage everybody on this commission to take a drive down that road, and then you can make a good decision. But drive it from Hubbard, where it's been chlorinated, and look in the mirror, and then hit the other end. It's unbelievable, the difference, so.
So are you talking the homes, on the first quarter mile from 64 along Unmanned Lake? Or
Yeah,
all-
there's the, Ausleger's Slough area, there'd be no need to chlorinate that. I mean, but it starts, I do believe, just east of Bob Munn. There's a couple seasonal sites or hunting cabins in there, whatever. But from that, it's probably less than a mile. You cross 110, and then Donna Saunders is the last house or home all the way to First Growing Lake.
Yeah.
It's about where the
Yeah.
pavement picks up.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we called, it was so rough from the amount of trucks. And I went on a pilgrimage, I called everybody I knew that used that road, and by the 9th call, one of my neighbors said, yeah, they told me they're getting tired of all the calls. Well, come out and do something then. Don't wait till you get 9 calls or 10 calls. Especially when the other end looks as nice as it does.
Well, next time I'm down by there, I'll drive through there, check it out.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I got it, Jeff.
Yeah.
I was at the Straight River HCAP meeting a couple weeks ago, a month ago. And I hope you don't think that everybody reflects on what happened.
We've got lots
Next item would be the consent agenda.
All right, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Ms. Ted, I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Employee recognition, Mike?
Good morning. For recognition of county employees today in the Auditor Treasurer Department with Jennifer Haddon, election support began the full-time temporary position on July 8th. Lynn Spillman, election support began the full-time temporary position on July 6th. In Highway, Eric Hadrava, Maintenance Superintendent, is recognized for 10 years of service on July 18th. In Human Services, Sarah Elgendy, Transit Dispatcher, began the part-time position on July 13th. In the Sheriff's Department, Jerome Phillips, Correctional Officer, began the full-time position on July 21st. Lori Zimmer, 911 telecommunicator, is recognized for 10 years of service on July 20th. And in Solid Waste, Michael Dene, Solid Waste Operator, is recognized for service from April 28th, 2025 until July 17th, 2026.
Thank you, Mike. All right, Natural Resource Management. Corey?
Hi, good morning. All right, a few things on the agenda today. First, we'll kind of go over this. We had a auction on July 6th, a timber auction. One of our, typically our smaller auction is in the summer. 9 out of 9 tracks did sell for $129,479.75. Stumpage prices do remain a little lower just because the mills are finishing up with all the blowdown they received, and they actually shut down there for a while to try to use up what they had. But I'm getting word now that the mills are starting to look for more wood. So I'm expecting the fall auction to be a pretty good one, kind of bumping them prices back up again. So I'm glad we did sell all of them, so that means that people are still looking for wood anyways, and stuff is selling. So yeah, I expect to see better bid up prices in the near future. So summer's kind of always a lull, it seems like. People are usually busy or not. They don't really bump up their business until wintertime. Logging, it seems like logging companies are a lot more busy in the wintertime with frozen ground and
They have
better access.
3 years to cut these sales?
Two
Two?
typically. Sometimes we'll give them 3 if they're a really wet sale, so they have a good winter to cut them. We did give a few extensions just because they were cutting so much blowdown that it was taking so much time. So a few loggers did get a couple of 1 or 2 extensions, but I believe them sales are getting cut now, so things are pretty up to date. Yeah, so expect a larger timber auction in October. We also plan to have another land auction in the fall too, so we'll be expecting some more income here coming up. Let's go on to the second agenda item. We received quotes for pine seed seedling protection. So this is the bud capping to prevent deer from eating the buds off the little pine trees. The low quote came back at $46.50 per acre. Last year, the quote was $48 per acre, so it actually went down, which is really nice. Usually we've been seeing everything going up in price, so it's been nice to see a couple dollar per acre drop in cost. And Thomas Forestry supplied that low quote. They're out of Bemidji, and they've done a lot of work for us and do a really good job. Last year we had a different company do it. They did a fine job. They did it like right before deer season, and we were kind of worried that the deer hunters would be around when the bud cappers were all bud capping. So, but it worked out fine. Try to get them done by middle of October if we can. So, and Thomas Forestry is pretty well aware of that. So we're just looking for approval for the $46.50 per acre for 899 acres of bud capping, to be done here in the fall. Comes out of Forest Development Fund, which we apportion quite a bit into every year, so, yeah, looking for approval for that.
Ms. Ted will make a motion to approve the low quote, number 1 from Thomas Forestry.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. Lastly, it's, I haven't had to do many of these in my time here, but we're looking for a replacement and purchases of a half-ton pickup and a one-ton pickup. I feel like there's wants and then there's needs in our department, and I feel like this is a need. Our 2018 Ram pickups are 8 years old now, and they're definitely they've seen better days, and we're typically on an 8-year replacement, and then we do. So we're asking for a quarter or a half-ton pickup to replace one of the Forester's half-ton pickups, and then we're asking for a 1-ton just because we really need a 1-ton to pull the skid steer, and we struggle with that a lot of times to try to find a 1-ton, and I believe it was only $8,000 more for the 1-ton, so we really would like to request to purchase a 1-ton and replace that other half-ton, just so we can pull the skid steer around and get more work done with that. We've been using the Parks 1-ton and trying to work out schedules with Greg and his employees to use it. It's kind of tough sometimes, so try to get that schedule. But I'll just go through the quotes here. Neighbors Ford supplied out of Park Rapids supplied the low quote for both pickups. The low quote, so they do sell Chevy pickups too, I guess, at Neighbors Ford. The low quote was for a Chevy 1500 4x4 double cab work truck for $40,665. And the low quote for the 1-ton F-350 4x4 super cab work truck was $48,450. And we did budget $100,000 for 2026 for these pickups. And then I called Neighbors Ford and they said they'd be ready in 1 to 4 months after your approval. And then we would plan to sell the 2 on auction. I was gonna talk to Greg and maybe we could keep 1 for Parks. We have three part-time Parks employees and there's 2 pickups, so we could possibly keep one of them Rams for the Parks too, so we could possibly do that. But otherwise, the other one would be sold on auction. And then I was kind of talking about, I know we've done some through Enterprise, we've rented some through, at least some through Enterprise, and like the highway department, I think they're pushing more towards purchasing just because you can get them with the specifications you need, and then you can typically use them longer than what the lease allows. So a lot of our leases are 5 years, I believe, and we can typically use these trucks for 8 years. And we don't really put the miles on like the sheriff's department does. The thing we do is we probably use them harder than the sheriff's department might use them, but we just don't put the miles on like other departments that lease do. So we would probably like to just buy them if we can. And typically we buy out the lease anyways from Enterprise at the end of 4 or 5 years. I guess I'll quit rambling. We did budget for them $100,000 and it came out less than that. And
Corey, does the 1-ton come with a receiver hitch?
yes, that's what we did lease one from Enterprise 3 years ago, it didn't come with any of that. I think with Enterprise, you kind of know what you're getting, but once you get it, you're like, shoot, now we're gonna have to put on a trailer or towing package and all kinds of better tires. And so with just buying them straight out, you know, when you order it straight out, you know what you're getting with the specifications. So yes, they do come with all the towing and braking packages.
Do you need to put much other equipment on these?
Not really, no. So the only thing we would do is probably put like a beacon light on top of the 550 or the 350 just when we park it or along a trail.
Are both of the current trucks leased?
No, they're purchased. So, yeah, and one just had a wheel bearing put in. That's going to be about $1,000. So, and that's still in the shop after a week. So, we're starting to. They've got about 80,000 miles on a piece, and we're starting to really see the bills add up.
So previous to these being leased, well, that was probably previous to Enterprise, and has anybody ever run the math to see what the better way is?
Yeah, and Corey's right, for fleet vehicles and vehicles where you're doing 100,000 in 3 years, it makes a lot more sense to lease. And in specialty equipment, it makes, sometimes make more sense to purchase. Hubbard County's in a situation where we've got adequate budget to be able to replace fleets, you know, kind of on a timeline like that. I know that in the situation in Mahnomen, we had 14 squad cars. All of them had over 150,000 miles, and they had the budget to buy one. Well, I leased 14 for the same price, right? So that's where it makes sense, is where you're really in a tough bind with budget. And we've had the conversation, and what I sent an email just as we were starting this conversation to Corey and Andrea, just to make sure when we bring these forward next time, that we're bringing forward the vehicle replacement schedules, so you guys can see that in the context, so it makes sense, so you know, well, because sometimes it feels like we're approving a new truck, and then like 2 months later, we're approving another truck. Well, if we see the plan every time we authorize a purchase, it'll make a lot more sense. And yes, I agree that in these situations and the way they're getting used, this is probably more cost effective. You can be much more specific in ordering through Enterprise and get exactly what you want. It can take longer.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got, with the local dealers that we have who are willing to work with us, and they end up beating state pricing on them all the time, we're pretty fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I imagine like these vehicles, because you're out in the woods and
Mm.
they're getting banged up.
yeah,
It's not
and
gonna fit your typical leasing.
no,
Low
no,
miles,
and-
but they might be physically banged up pretty good by the time you get your time in them.
Yep.
they better treat these ones nice. No, it'll be, our department will really appreciate some quality. I mean, these are just work trucks still, but they're gonna be, I think, better than definitely better with what we have.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the low quotes.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
I'm sorry, Tom, okay.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. We did get our skid steer back finally from being repaired, so we'll be starting to move the dock sections, the fishing pier sections down there here this week, I believe, and CUP meeting, our CUP's on the Planning Commissioner Board of Adjustment on Monday, so things are moving along with that. Disc golf course is done up at Ferris Park, so that was one big accomplishment this summer, and yeah, we're working hard, so. Go ahead.
I was, I got some people that, the mental health board that I'm on,
Mm-hmm.
they got, a lot of them have dogs, so they were asking me, what's the status on the dog park?
Yeah, so the dog park, we're waiting on quotes from, I think I sent out to 10 different companies now. So hopefully, it'll be at the approval. I want the Parks Board to approve it at the August meeting. So, I believe I have on the request for quotes to be completed by November 1st, the fencing. Yep. Greg was still working at controlling the buckthorn, so we do have a little bit of time there, but, yeah, trying to get the invasives out of there and getting it leveled out. And, people are really excited about it though.
They're
Yep.
eager to use it.
Yeah, yep. But yeah, we're trying to push it as quick as we can.
Okay.
Yep.
I had a question about parks in general. We have the Lake George Community Park,
Yep.
Ferris Park, Heartland Park here in town, and now Garfield Lake. For an example of Lake George and Ferris up in Farden, have those communities committed money to these in the past to do any construction improvements or anything like that?
Yeah, so, Tom, you might know more, but, like Lake George Park, Lake George Township actually maintains. So there's an agreement there, and then Ferris Park, Farden Township maintains. So, it's almost like we purchase supplies and everything, and then they maintain everything. They mow, they clean the bathrooms. Yeah, otherwise, for funding, you mean to like start the park?
Construction-wise,
Yeah,
you know.
construction. For the most part, I think the county's purchased
All the
every.
amenities like swing sets.
Yeah,
and
like if there's
disc golf.
something wrong, we're obligated to purchase it. Yep. I know like there's a garbage bin at Lake George, and the township paid for the garbage bin to get dumped every week, and, yeah, and you might know more. I've only been here for a little over 3 years.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Well, last I talked with Marcel about Garfield Park, the playground, they're not too happy about splitting the cost on it, but
Yep.
it's still not something that they may still good and do it, but just a little resistance from them.
Yeah, yep, and I'm all for it either way. I'd love to see a little swing set and a slide there, and just that our Parks Board, I know there's some history with helping out with the city of LaPorte that since we put so much money into the city of LaPorte's playground, we weren't going to do much at other other facilities around there, but I'd be really excited to put something up at Garfield Lake. And we did budget for it the last couple of years. It's just trying to get the approvals, and you guys might even overpower at some point, but I really want to help them folks out up there. I feel like there's a large community up there that wants it so bad. Just a small little playground, and we've budgeted for it, and so I'd like the Parks Board to really think about what we can do there. And I know they agreed to split costs. I think it was $8,000 or $9,000 altogether with fall surfacing and swing set and slide. And we suggested that if they split $4,500 with the county, that we would do it. But if they can't find that $4,500, yeah, I don't know what to do then.
Okay.
We'll just need the budget for it next year if we really want to have it.
Yeah. Yep.
Corey, I have a question on the dog park.
Yep.
Even with putting dog bags out, some people just will not clean up after their pets. Is your staff gonna clean up every week?
So they do already. Some people use the baseball diamond for a dog park.
I see that. Yep.
And I think every Monday morning they go out there and do a grid and pick it all up. And yeah, so there's going to be, so at the Parks Board meeting, on Monday, they're going to come up with rules for the dog park. And eventually there might have to be even an ordinance, if it's not already in there, for dog waste. So, yeah, we'll make sure things are clean, and I know diseases spread and all that sort of thing. But we already supply the dog bags and garbages, and I hope people.
I know, I just don't get why people don't clean up, but.
Yeah, it's terrible, but yeah, we'll make sure it's clean, and I'd rather them use that area than the baseball diamond, baseball field. And really, in ordinance, the parks ordinance, dogs are supposed to be leashed outside of that dog park, so, yeah, so we'd like to see dogs on leashes if possible. But, all right, I'll quit wasting your guys' time.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, have a good weekend if I don't see you.
Josh, solid waste.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so the first agenda item I have is to review and approve construction documents that have been prepared by ICS for our reuse center and fabric building project. I have Justin here with me from ICS, who's going to kind of walk through the presentation or the slides that we have in the packet here. So this morning we're looking to again seek approval of the construction documents, and then we look at authorizing these to go out to bid. We'd look at having our pre-bid meeting on July 30th at 2 p.m. at the Hubbard County Public Works Building, and then our bid opening on August 13th at 2 p.m. at Public Works. And just a little bit of refresher with the history, we have budgeted in our 2026 budget $1,350,000 for the reuse center and fabric building construction projects for 2026, and $758,000 of that was directly from grant funding authorized from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And with that, I'll turn it over to Justin, and he can walk through the packet, and we can answer any questions you have. So,
Thanks, Josh. Good morning, everybody. So we will go through the plans that we've developed, the schedule, the anticipated schedule, where we're seeing the overall budget right now, and our recommendation. Oh, let me test my eyes here. All right, so here's our site plan. You can see the dark area. That's all the new bituminous that's scheduled to go in. Utilities run from the south to the north, so you can see water and sewer, serving the future reuse facility, as well as building G to the west. So the existing septic system and well will no longer be in use for those two facilities. To the right, you can see the aggregate surfacing. So there's an opportunity to travel to that fabric building. That'd be for staff use from the east to the west to the fabric building, and the public coming from the south to the north to the reuse facility. Next page. Here's the floor plan. On the right-hand side, about an 800 square foot addition going on. That would be stick framed. The existing building to the left is about 4,000 square feet. That's a pole frame construction. So a small addition on the right. In the existing facility, there's one restroom. There'd be an office and a vestibule. Currently, the existing building's all dirt floor, so there'd be a slab poured throughout that one elevation. Overhead door added, or right sized on the west side, one added on the north side, and another overhead door on the right side. Here's an elevation view. This is the north elevation. You can see the addition on the left as it kind of compares to the existing building on the right. It is a little bit stepped down from the existing building. Here's the south elevation, pretty much a mirror view, but you can see the vestibule doors, the primary entrance to the facility from the south. Then, of course, the east and the west elevations. So scheduled today, we're here to get authorization to procure bids, really see what the market entails. We do feel it's a favorable time to bid this project out. We feel contractors are pretty hungry. I think we'll get good numbers. As Josh alluded to, I think it says our pre-bid is this next Thursday, pre-bid walkthrough, with bid opening being Thursday, August 13th, with construction starting early September, site work wrapping up in October, and the project in totality wrapping up end of February. Overall budget, just going through everything that we've identified, our CD estimate is tracking a little bit over, about 150,000 over. We did a pretty extensive value engineering effort after design development, and we feel like we reduced pretty much everything that we can to make it a functional facility. I think Josh would agree with that. There's a couple other opportunities we're looking at, but at this point, we feel we're in striking distance. We feel the market's favorable and recommend seeing what the market holds. So with that, we recommend to approve the construction documents as presented with the authorization to proceed with the bidding process. Any questions?
Did you talk about being over budget already, or?
Yeah.
So then the numbers that are reflecting here at the beginning, if I get back up there. 1.35 million, so we'll be over that.
So
Yeah,
it's just,
no,
it's
half then?
a construction documents estimate, just the estimate based off what we think the pricing is gonna come in at. Once we actually procure bids, we'll know where we're truly at and if we have to reduce cost.
Okay, and if we're over budget?
So we're still, like Justin kind of mentioned, but we're hoping bids come in, below the estimate. We also are still working on a few things to try to lower the scope a little bit and the cost a little bit. And then thirdly, I think once we get the bids in, we'd probably, my goal is to evaluate them as well to see if, possibly any change orders where we can get really a lot closer to what I had budgeted for this project. Worst case scenario, if costs, are still tracking over budget once we get bids in, I would plan, this project is gonna carry into 2027, so I'd plan to offset some of them costs in the 2027 budget. But we've spent a lot of work on this, we've been working on this a couple years, really, from the inception of putting in the current reuse building to moving it to this location. And then, we've been scaling back and scaling back and scaling back, and I think, what we have now is a really, good project, smart project for our long-term future needs, and I think we can accomplish that within the scope that we have. So
We have one moving chip that we can work with. Solid Waste is still on the hook to pay back the last $150,000 from a loan for the last project to the general fund. And it depends on when that $150,000 cost may come up in, where they're scheduled to pay that yet in 2026. Or they could push that to 2027, or we could push some of this cost to 2027. The truth of the matter is, right now, you're just authorizing the letting of the bid. After the bid opening, you'll still have the opportunity to approve, so we'll know that actual number, and we have confidence that that gap is gonna come down a bit based on conditions. So, the request today is just authorization to let the bids, and then after the opening on August 13th, they'd be back here for approval, to award bid to the lowest bidder.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of wiggle room. What I told Josh is I don't want to scale this back anymore to the point where it's not functional the way we want it to be. We'd rather do the project so that it functions the way it's intended to function than to cut it to the point where we give up something. And at the point of opening bids and authorizing bids, we'll have to determine if the cost benefit is still there. I'm anticipating that we'll see that the overage is less than the current budget.
Any other questions? Motions?
I'll make the motion.
Anywhere?
I'll second.
All right.
Yeah, we still have time to decide.
Yeah. Any other discussion?
Yeah, we're not spending the dollars
No,
right now,
we're
it's
not.
just trying to find out how much it is gonna cost, so. Doesn't mean we've committed to
Right.
the project 100%.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Justin. The next item I have is for review and approve quotes for a roll-off ramp container. So back in 2025, we budgeted to replace our box truck that we've had. I think it's a 2004 at Solid Waste. And we were planning on initially replacing that with an enclosed trailer for transporting our household hazardous waste and recycling-related materials like our e-waste, things like that. We wanted to provide an enclosed trailer because it just provides a little extra security as when we're transporting. But after review, we found that there's a ramp-style roll-off container. So that container would meet our needs for loading and provide some additional benefits versus having an enclosed trailer. For one, we can use that roll-off container with our hook truck, so we don't have to have another chassis to maintain, we don't have another engine to maintain like a box truck. And it just provides us a little bit extra flexibility. So what's unique about this ramp container is it kind of has a convertible door, which it either opens up like a normal roll-off container would, or the back of the container folds down and provides a ramp where we can actually load and unload with the forklift inside that container. So that provides us a little bit extra flexibility versus if we went with a cargo trailer. You know, we can't be driving a forklift in and out of there. We'd have to either use a hand truck or hand dolly, or it just makes it a little bit more challenging. So the two quotes that we received, we quoted one for the ramp container and one for an actual cargo trailer, which was our original plan. And our recommendation would be to go with the lower quote, which would be the ramp container for $14,590 from Ramp Container LLC. And that would be a 40-yard roll-off container with about a 6-week lead time on that.
If you're gonna use that as a ramp for getting a forklift on there, that's gotta be a pretty robust ramp.
Yeah, it has an amazing weight capacity in that container, so.
Forklifts are not light.
Forklift carrying something.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned. I don't know if I'd wanna be the one driving it, but, yeah.
They'll be back for a bigger forklift then.
Probably smaller, maybe.
Oh,
This Ted will make a motion to approve the low quote number 1 from Ramp Container.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, anything else, Josh?
Just a quick update. If you remember earlier, I think it was earlier this spring, we applied for a grant for organics, the organics facility, organics management grant, and we were notified by the MPCA that we received funding for that. So that's a $499,000 grant. And the good thing about this grant is this would be for, again, upgrading the old transfer station, current reuse center. And the good thing, with this is that we'd only be contributing about $50,000 into that building project, and the remainder of our match would be just our operating costs that we're gonna have, whether we have the facility or not. So it should be another good value for the county and good opportunity for us to utilize these competitive grants from the Pollution Control Agency. And this will be in my budget for completing in 2027 and possibly into early 2028, so. And that's all I had.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Human Services is up next. Morning.
good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So we have the Hubbard County out-of-home placement, parental and children income recovery fees policy. This policy was created so that when a child goes to an out-of-home placement, we can look at assessing the parents and children for a fee to help cover the cost of care in the out-of-home placement. Based on state policy, we can assess collecting a fee. However, if we do so, then the state is advising that we need to have a county policy. The reason for this policy for assessing is to assess collecting these fees to offset the cost of what the county's already paying for out-of-home placements for children. I'm seeking for the board to approve the policy that was created so we can assess fees to help offset the costs of what we're already paying for children going to out-of-home placements.
So as I read through this, I'm wondering what are the chances of parents actually paying? And secondly, when I looked at other financial responsibilities, are the parents currently covering insurance, clothing, and medical, dental? So they're already doing that?
Yes,
Okay,
I do believe so.
okay.
Yep. This is just to reinforce so that way they're aware of what they still need to cover if and when the child goes to an out-of-home placement.
And I'm not opposed to the policy, I'm just wondering what the chances are of actually collecting, because it's already, as you know, the situation isn't healthy in the first place.
Correct, yep. So chances of them paying, there's a couple different ways we can go about, which we have a process to going about having them pay. There's never any guarantees, but this is for us to be able to at least assess and be able to send them a bill and be able to impose what we need to impose to try to collect the fee from the parents. With the children income recovery, that's a little bit easier if they receive benefits from Social Security to be able to try to redirect that income from the children to the county.
I kind of agree with Shar. I don't know about the possibility of collecting, but I do think a policy to have in place would be a good thing.
Yeah, yep. This just gives us some extra leverage to be able to assess for the fee, whether it's the children income recovery fee or the parental fee.
So I didn't Google this, but for a family of four, do you know what the income level would be at 275%?
I don't. We do have a table. I don't have it in my brain, but we do have a table that I could pull and provide if you were curious.
That's okay, I can Google it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I was kind of curious about historically, how many cases would have actually qualified to collect on?
That is, it's hard to determine. So there's no guarantees, and not every family would qualify because some of them will be under, below that 275% of the federal poverty guideline. But if we can,
Something new, because I mean, why didn't we do it before?
this is not something new, but the state has changed policies and procedures a lot on this recently. And then with different managements, there's been different decisions. So the state has left it entirely up to the counties if we choose to assess to collect the fees or not. It's county-based per the Minnesota statute. And a lot of counties are leaning towards trying to assess to at least try to offset the costs somehow.
If a placement were to eventually lead to adoption, would the fees end then?
I would have to look, potentially. I would need to look just to be sure. I'm not 100% sure on that because each out-of-home placement is different. There's institutions, there's mental health facilities, there's foster care. I know if a child goes to foster care, there still could be a fee assessed for foster care placement. I'm not sure about the adoption piece. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle with children going to out-of-home placements. I can look and do some research and provide information.
So according to the federal poverty guidelines, they don't have 275%. For a family of four at 250, the income is 82,500, and at 300, it's 99,000. So it's somewhere in between that for 275.
So the policy is consistent with our limits, it's consistent with other counties in the area. The truth of the matter is, out-of-home placements and poverty correlate pretty strongly.
Yep.
But in the situation where we do have an outlying, it gives us an opportunity. We do not have an estimate of what kind of costs we could recover from this policy. We couldn't even get an estimate from, surrounding counties because every case is different. So it's just a matter of having the policy so that we can recover the fees that we can if the circumstances warrant.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
All right, Heartland Express. Morning.
Good morning. Hubbard County Heartland Express is a grantee from FTA funds. And the FTA mandates that every 3 years, we adopt a new American with Disabilities Act plan. So I'm here today to try to get that approved, just to show them that we have. The plan is on Heartland Express's website. Sorry, I need my glasses so I can read my notes here. The policy, complaint forms and procedures, reasonable modification information and procedures are all linked on the website now. So that website now is compliant with both MnDOT and FTA. So the last piece was to get the new, I shouldn't say it's a new, it's basically the same that we've had, but they just need it to be approved every 3 years, just to stay in compliance.
So Jason, as I read through this, two questions. One is, do you have are there very many people that call for service and then don't show? And then the second question is, do you have to have you had to ban very many people? From
I've not
actually-
one since I've been here. I'll be here 3 years in September. I don't know, I can't speak for before
Yep.
that, but
Yep.
no, we have not.
And then for no-shows, is that just happens haphazardly, or?
Yeah, basically, there's no real pattern to it, and the numbers aren't that outrageous. There's always gonna be a few.
Yep, I get that.
But no, it's not really any kind of a problem that I see or any kind of a growing concern. There is here and there is a few, but it's just the nature of the business, basically.
Thank you.
You have any, I'm reading further down in here about securing wheelchairs. Do you have any problems with
No,
not being able to secure a wheelchair?
no, nothing huge. I've had, at one time, we had a driver that didn't use all 4 points on the wheelchair. And that was called my attention, and we retrained them, and I haven't had it, that was about a year and a half ago. But nothing since then, that I'm aware of.
All right, questions? Otherwise, need a motion to approve the policy.
I'll move to approve.
This is Ted, I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Jason. Auditor, or maintenance, actually, maintenance. Morning.
Morning, everyone. I've come to grace you with my presence with the expectation of hoping you'll approve me the capability to hire a temporary custodian. We are currently down a custodian, and I'm using my recently hired Tech 1 position to backfill all of that stuff, kind of keeping him from doing the other stuff we need to do. It's kind of been a balancing act for the last few weeks. So I'd kind of like to see if I can get somebody in here to kind of offset that a little bit. Somebody can actually work during the nights, possibly to get more of the cleaning done outside of just the normal day-to-day cursory stuff that we've kind of been holding up on.
this is a position that we used to have, but we didn't fill. And now we're at the circumstance where it'd be handy to have the temporary position. So that, and just because we're adding FTE, we're bringing it back to you. I do not expect that it's going to end up having the full financial impact of 11.5. That's the highest possible. It's very unlikely to be that amount of money.
So Jeff, you have in here the cost would be absorbed. So does that mean there's money already in the budget, or would it be additional?
It means that when we have people on leaves, we're not paying all of that wages.
Yes.
So in that circumstance, that's what I mean by absorbed, is that we wouldn't be paying 2 times the wages for that. So this estimate is estimating the full cost of that as if we were paying both of them. I would anticipate this would be significantly less than that. And it'll be significantly less than supplementing with overtime. And it doesn't make sense to have our tech position spending too much time doing custodial duties when we do have jobs that he could be working on.
This position, it won't be a full Monday through Friday type thing. It'll only be probably 2 to 3 days a week. That gives us extra time to get some other projects done and stuff. Biggest thing we are kind of falling behind on right now is our carpet cleaning, because we don't seem to like to do that during the day for some reason. People get a little nervous when they hear the extractor going all the time.
And it's not 2-3 days a week all year round. It's basically when we have gaps and we have people on leave or vacations and filling in.
Has the state already approved the lengths of this family paid leave?
The person that is affecting has completed all required documentation for their absence.
Okay. And then the length has been approved then?
Yes.
Okay.
From HR, everything has been completed as required and approved.
Will this person then be on call, or will they have a set schedule?
I'll work with the individual, probably be a set schedule of certain days a week, or whatever else to come in, so. It has a little bit of a flexibility. It's nice that it's a kind of a part-time position, so if they have other employment or other things that they need to do, we can work out a schedule for them to be in here to do work at night versus everything during the day, so.
It'll be
Temporary, because when that.
Temporary.
when you've got
Temporary,
full staff,
sorry,
they're
temporary,
they're done,
sorry.
yeah.
it'll be scheduled in the times when we need the temporary position, and it will be as needed in the other times.
Gotcha.
And like I said, this was a budgeted position. We just hadn't filled it because we hadn't had gaps in our staffing for a while. And truth be told, there's a couple of places where we're having to adapt our scheduling and our staffing to meet some of the new conditions with leave policies. It's gonna be the way that it is, and we're gonna have to find the times where it makes sense to have some flexibility like this, and then we're gonna have to find times where we just can put off some of the work until we get around to it. This is a situation where we're spending the money better if we have our technicians working on projects. And we don't create a situation by not having the custodial help we need that we create more projects.
I guess I could see this as also being a person that may desire to transition into a full-time position when a full-time position becomes open within your staff.
If that was to come about, possibly. Right now, I have no forecasted
Yeah, well, I'm just.
future things, but yeah, or it could be somebody that's interested in getting into a particular career field that has
Yeah.
potential value later on down the line, whether for us or with another entity, but.
This Ted will make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bobby. Auditor.
So I just wanted to share with you where our account balances are and our statements and then our CD balances. Since I was here last, which has been quite a while, we closed the Magic Fund, and that, we did, yep. And so $2 million of that went to Ellers to invest, and then the remaining about 300,000 went into the Magic account at Citizens, so that could remain liquid for us if we needed it. And then Ellers is they're doing our investments and expanding it to a longer period of time. So like our CDs are pretty staggered. Ellers is also quite staggered out to get better interest rates. And then as far as like the Ellers at the bottom there, we just paid 2 different pay applications, so those balances will change in probably at the end of this month by about $2 million that'll come out of those accounts and into our money market account at Citizens. We also collected about $36 million in taxes so far, that we've completed all the settlements that go out with that and paid all the other municipalities and the schools.
Just curious, is Ellers able to give us a better interest rate than the Magic Fund was?
They are.
Somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2.
And so just curious, because I used to be on the Magic Board, and that's when we actually put money in. Why do so many cities and counties continue to invest in the Magic Fund?
Because it's simple.
Okay.
They don't, we went through the process of selecting a financial advisor.
Yep.
And spending time and money to make sure that we're doing the best with our investments that we can. I would say the Magic Fund is probably 85–90% of really good for a lot of municipalities and counties that don't have the ability and time to do that.
Okay.
So it makes a lot of sense. We are laddered out in some of the Ellers things 5 or 6 years at this point. So, and that's an attempt to make sure that if we have any slower periods in between that, what we've tried to do is we've tried to ladder that fund in such a way that we have the ability to count on $1 million to $1.3 million in interest income every year to offset levy needs, right? 2021, when I got here, we were budgeting $275,000. Now we're budgeting $1.2 million. It means we're just strategically managing those funds, which is why when you look at the general fund levy has gone down since I got here, because we've been offsetting it with that account. And our goal is not necessarily to raise that amount, it's to structure those funds that we can keep current with that amount and not have a dip in that. So we meet bi-monthly, quarterly with Ellers just to review the investments. They contact Marie every time that something is changing or whether they see an opportunity. And it's much more active management. And as you all know, our local investments have become much more competitive when they know that we're that we're willing to look around, and they've done a really good job of keeping pace with that. They are not going to have the ability to invest in and leverage things like Ellers can for us, but it's still really good for us to having the Magic Fund, and then having the Magic Fund in the local bank was redundant. So we do still keep that here for another source of liquid revenue. The money market account is where most of our liquid revenue is. Yeah, so we're sitting in good shape.
What kind of rate do you get on the money market account?
They match it to what the Magic Fund was. So right now, the Magic Fund's at a 3.6%. So we have to send them the rates every week when they come in, and then they match that. So it's right around there.
And how well is Ellers doing over the 3.6?
I think we're
They're-
4-1, something like that. over the portfolio. I think it's just important to see this periodically, just to know where things are. The only thing that would be helpful, and perhaps we can update it and get it out to you in the next month, is seeing the snapshot is good. Seeing the snapshot in the context of the last 4 or 5 years is helpful. So this June 30 report, after we've done our settlement, is kind of an indicator, and this is why we hold off so long on getting budgets out to you, is we want to be able to incorporate the June 30 financials, the June 30 cash reports, before we get that out to you. So I know that we'd recently updated a 5-year, kind of month by month, what our cash balance report is, and I think that would be helpful. We can get that out to you.
Just put that together,
Yep.
like a performance analysis over the whole.
Yeah, it's just a grid that shows 12 months and then, at least 5 years of history, so you can see where we're landing on January 1st and on July 1st is just really good indicators of how we're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Easier to read than audits.
Yeah.
And then again, year to year is just a snapshot, but
Mhm.
once you get enough years, you can see how they're averaging over time.
I know that has been updated in the last 6 months, so I don't think it would take Robin very long to update that with the new numbers.
Do you remember what our credit rating is right now?
I'm not sure.
I could get the answer. It's in the bond issuance from last
Yeah,
February.
Was it 1+? Was it more than 1? Do you remember?
I will have to find out here.
Okay, just curious.
It,
Because it went down,
it did, but it's still better than average for a
Yeah.
county of our size.
but I think it went back up, if I remember right.
I'd have to check.
Mr. Chair, can I ask the auditor a question digressing that has
Sure.
nothing to do with this?
Sure.
What are you thinking about going out for bids for the audit?
Well, I mean, we did just have a meeting with the state auditor. I have to say, after working with them in this past audit, it was really helpful because they had been the auditors for so many years. So in that way, I think it's prepped us better for the starting of this audit, because if that's kind of what they're looking for, then we have a baseline of that. So I like where we're at personally.
We have to, by statute, we have to provide notice by September of the every other year, and I'm not sure which year we are in the cycle, if we were intending to go out to bid for that.
Do you think there would be a large price difference?
Yes, it would cost more at this point.
It would cost more at this point?
Un-
Because it used to be the opposite.
Until we're capable, the trends are, until we're capable of doing our own financial reports and we just hire a firm to do the auditing of those financial reports. Remember, right now, we're still using the auditor's office and some time from CLA to put together our financial reports. We're in much better standing for 2025 audit and already working on background on that. When we would have the capacity fully to do that, we could potentially find somebody else to do it. The fact of the matter is, there are fewer people willing to do audits like ours than there used to be. And so that the price is going up, and people who have opted away from the state auditor's office are now asking to get back in the cycle. So what I think a near-term question is can we look at what we can do in-house with the staff that we have to reduce the overall cost of the audit and get to the point where we have few, if any, findings other than technical ones. And then there might be an opportunity where we could look at the market. But it's still on a 2-year cycle where you can opt out. Unfortunately, it's another 2 or 3 years after you opt out before you could opt back in. So we would have to, we can get a real good feeling if we're in a position where we are capable of doing our own financial reports and reduce the findings to very minimal findings, then we might find somebody who's willing to do it at a reasonable price. I don't think people are saving money by having other people do it now, and people are being dropped, which is putting people in a bad spot.
And I know with some of the other committees, not that I'm on, we've struggled
I know,
to
yeah,
find
same here.
auditors.
It just seems like a conflict of interest to have the state do our audits.
It does.
Our S&P bond rating is AA minus.
Okay,
The strongest is a AAA. I don't think there's a county in the state that's rated AAA. There's an AA plus and an AA. So we're 2 notches above the middle point of the scale.
thank you.
And that, I remember the last time when we issued the $10 million for the jail project, we got premium bids, which mean people paid us more than $10 million for that $10 million bond. So our rating is still in a position of putting us in strong position compared to other public agencies.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We can update that monthly cash chart and get that out. It might actually be I mean, this and that might be helpful just to put on the internal, on the SharePoint site, under the June financials.
Oh, okay.
That'd be the easiest place for people to find them.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Marie.
Yeah, and then just a real quick election update. So yesterday we had our first of 2 public accuracy tests. We'll have another one August 4th at 10 a.m. up in the 3rd floor conference room there. We had 2 this year, partly because we wanted to make sure we got enough equipment tested that we could use it for early voting, which is the early. So there's early in-person absentee that has already been going on 46 days prior to the election, but the early voting in person where you put a ballot directly into the ballot counter starts on Friday. So we wanted to make sure we had equipment tested and had the test prior to that so we can use that equipment, and then we'll have a second test, and that one anyone in the public can come to as well. And we've sent out about 1,800 ballots, mail ballots, and absentee or permanent absentee. So far, we've only received about 16% back, but I would say it's still early for when those come back in the mail.
Do you have many public observers at your testing?
We had 2 people from the League of Women Voters, and otherwise just our internal staff. We had a couple that weren't running it, just observing it. So, but it was published, so perhaps people will come to the second one.
Okay. And that's Tuesday, August 4th, you said, what time?
10 a.m.
So some of you may want to, can you observe the testing as candidates?
You can observe the testing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Administrative.
The only updates are kind of a reminder of our timeline and schedule. We are going to try to have the preliminary budget reports out to you on the 31st, ahead of the August 4th board meeting. And I want those to be as complete as possible, and if I'm not happy that they're complete, I might not get them to you until Monday before that meeting, but I'd rather make sure that we've got all the payroll stuff in there correctly. And I wanted to check with Marie because I was talking to one of the department managers yesterday, and they said, when is that deadline? I said, it was last Friday, but you can get yours in easily. It wasn't one of the major ones, and then we'll put the schedule together for August and September. to have conversations with large departments and review their budgets in detail. In August, I believe that's gonna be the highway department and solid waste, and I think that then we'll see in September, human services and the sheriff's department, based on my last conversation with those DMs. I have not seen the registration for the Fall Policy Conference in Bemidji out yet, but I would expect to see that soon. That's 7 weeks out at this point. And I don't,
Were we doing, I missed the last opioid meeting because I couldn't get in when I was driving. So we have an opioid meeting scheduled the 16th of September. Will we need to change that because of the fall policy?
we will have to look at that. Yes, that's a good point. We have, I think August 18th, the opioid committee will be coming to the board
At the
to
board
ask,
meeting,
to
okay.
ask for approval to open the grant, the first grant round. So expect to see that on that agenda. And then they will close on September 18th, and then the opioid committee will review those applications, hopefully plenty of applications, and then we'll be back in December asking the board to approve those grants, and they'd be grants for 2027 fiscal and calendar year. So you'll get more background and more information about that. We'll bring that on the 18th when we're asking to open that grant round. We take in just over $100,000 a year in settlement funds, and we have invested the first $600,000, so that's gonna yield us $25,000 a year. So our intent is to grant $125,000 a year and maintain that first pot of money to continue to give us an opportunity to extend that a little bit longer. So you'll hear more about that, those that are not on that committee, when we ask for that grant round to open. We're a couple years behind some of our other peers in getting this done, but we're getting it done. I think I had Angela test the fillable applications. She said she was able to work with that, so I think we're there. We will have a meeting in August, but it'll be after the board meeting where we ask approval. It's the third Wednesday, so it'll be after the third Tuesday. But we will have to address the schedule in September then. I think that is what I have, unless you have questions.
Anything else? Jeff, otherwise, committee reports. Start, Ted?
I can start, sure. Let's see, I had a Northwestern Minnesota Juvenile Center meeting. It was a full board. Steve was there. Let's see. Basically, approved the new per diem rates, what we charge other counties and member counties. Let's see, went over the financial reports, client movement reports, looked at the capital improvement plan and where we might push some things back, and we had a deal we went to, dropped, I believe it was Marco, and went to Paul Bunyan, and so some of the things on the capital improvement list, Paul Bunyan included with their contract, so we were able to eliminate those. And let's see, and that was really about it. Steve, did I miss much?
Yeah, just that our per diem rates are going up
Yeah.
a little bit. Of course, not going down.
They never go down. Nothing goes down.
But the per diem rates at Northwest are less than the other regional centers. So,
And then the other meeting I had was the Hubbard County Township Association meeting last night. There again, Steve joined us. Was a fair turnout. You know, Andre was there from the Highway Department. Corey was there from the Sheriff's Department, kind of shared where the calls were throughout the county. Of course, I'm gonna speak highly of Schoolcraft Township where I live. Used to be a township supervisor. Corey didn't specifically say, but we're in the bottom 5. So it was,
Oh, for calls?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or how many people living there?
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
the
say,
other-
what percentage of population for Hubbard County are you?
Yeah, we have about a little over 100 people in our township.
But their rate tripled a couple years ago, so. Tripled the number of calls,
Yeah,
so instead
so
of
I
1, it
asked-
was 3.
Yeah.
So did it go back down again?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
down
it did.
again, yeah. And,
I thought it interesting, Fardin was the highest.
yeah, and they
Then,
normally are.
Henrietta, Todd, those were some of the 3 highest, and there was one other one, I can't remember, but it wasn't Nevis. But yeah, and it seems to be the same areas that are the top 5, just based on population.
Yeah, we have well-behaved people in Schoolcraft Township.
No, all the lights go off at 6 o'clock, yeah, so.
And that's all I've got, thank you.
The only one I had was, we had the regional, board meeting for the Kitsigami Library. That's, one of the items that we approved was, Pat Melvin with DDA. He gave a presentation on the, profile that they're gonna put out for the, executive director for the library system. We also approved the salary range that he recommended, which was based on 3% increase since the beginning of the last director. So the salary range is from $93,000 to $133,000 per year. And we also set a date of September 30th to have the number of candidates narrowed down to probably about 3 for the full board to consider. And that's about all for that.
I had a compliance committee meeting for Prime West, and currently they're being, $20 million worth of claims are being audited for fraud. And if fraud is found, we are held responsible even though the state approved the places where we paid the dollar amount. So we would have to pay that back plus a fine. And then we would have to go after the non-existent fraudulent person or, business, which getting money back would be next to impossible. So they're just waiting to see how all that plays out. And then the second thing, for HIP, we're doing environmental scans for Hubbard County. So that includes liquor stores, bars, and gas stations, anywhere that sells alcohol, tobacco products, or THC products. So I went with Angie one day, and I'm gonna go once more next week. Some of the trends that have changed that we found out, since COVID, the bars have not picked up in numbers like they were pre-COVID. People are buying their beverage of choice and drinking it at home versus going out to the bars in a higher percentage rate. When I asked, they didn't think people were having people over. So it's not actually a social time. People are just drinking, even non-alcoholic drinks. It was just beverages in general at home alone, which I found really interesting. One of the liquor stores we visited is stocking THC drinks because that's what people are asking, and so it would be, it's a market decision. And non-alcoholic drinks are up by quite a high percentage rate. I think overall alcohol consumption for people under 40 is down 30%. Vaping's a big issue, especially with the younger. Kratom isn't sold. We haven't found anywhere, we're not done with the scans yet. Currently, that's not sold anywhere within Hubbard County. And Angie said overall, compared to other counties, Hubbard County is quite conservative in what they sell. So she found that really encouraging. we look at signage, we look at what they're advertising, the age group they're advertising. Once people find out what we're actually doing, that are the property owners, they're very accommodating. We've had really good conversations, so it's been a really interesting and positive experience. That's what I have.
Well, Ted covered Northwest Juvenile, and Jeff covered opioid. I guess the only thing other conversation-wise is, some of you were on the call for the Enbridge update.
Oh, yeah.
I guess
Wait
we'll
and
have to
see.
wait and see.
Yeah.
It's not a very comforting thing to hear, but I would hope that the state would step up and resolve the issue. But it sounds like Enbridge is really holding their ground, I guess. And
But part of resolving it has to come up with a new way of evaluation.
yeah, and I would hope that the Public Utilities Commission would certainly consider not granting any more pipelines until a plan is in place to avoid this sort of scuttlebutt after the fact.
Well, one thing I'm curious about is, Minnesota's not the only state that Enbridge has pipelines in. I'm just wondering if Enbridge is doing the same thing in other states. I mean, is it because Minnesota's taxing too much, or I don't know?
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So they're asking for almost a 10% drop in their evaluation overall, plus money paid already.
The first time the state did pay, but, that 30 million or whatever it was. But this time it doesn't sound like.
I thought they said they agreed on the valuation of the pipelines, but what they didn't agree on was the
the
Minnesota
MPCA.
Pollution Control
Yeah, it's
Credits.
the
Right, but
MPCA.
that's-
750 million they're asking for, which is, what they say, like 10% of their assessed value.
Yeah.
In most places, it's 5% or less. So it's a pretty big ask by Enbridge.
Yeah.
What I found was interesting, I reached out to Paul Key right after this, and he hadn't heard anything about it yet, so he was gonna start checking into it, yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I was kind of discouraged about with the meeting was just how it was presented, that just because the state doesn't have the money, doesn't absolve them from the issue.
Mhm.
And it seemed like some of the county folks were willing to just think we're just gonna roll over and have to pay it. Well, it's still a state issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because the evaluation comes from the state.
Right.
The state made the mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's their, I don't know, blunder's not the right word to use, because it's a disagreement, but however it shakes out, the responsibility of assessing lies with them.
True and not true. They did resolve just 3 years ago. And Enbridge just took another angle to pick at another piece of the information. So it's kind of disingenuous when they show up in town and talk about how happy they are to be paying taxes and making an investment here, when they got lawyers on the backside chipping away at what their value is. They pay over nearly 20% of our levy. And in other northwestern counties, it's over 60% of their levy.
Yeah, I think, and so one of the commissioners mentioned, and I think it was Neil from Cass, these credits they're asking for, once that pipeline is built, any of the pollution issues or things like that have already been dealt with. So why would you get a recurring credit every year for this huge amount of money when there's really not a lot of environmental issues going forward now? Most of that occurs on the build-out. And so I think that the state should have a pretty strong argument in the court.
Unless it's one of those types of things that they're comparing it to, that if they transported everything over a road or a rail, the danger is so much greater versus having it buried 10 feet underground. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I
And the
was,
fact that they're asking for twice
Yeah.
above anywhere else in the country, it seems like that the state should have a pretty good argument here. Maybe that's why they're kind of just done talking.
But I would hope, as what came out in the call, Enbridge was that even counties were having trouble having conversation with Enbridge, so I would hope that that would improve.
Yeah,
No,
well,
the
part of that problem was they don't want things to be available, conversations that you might have be discoverable during their process.
Yeah.
They just,
Yeah.
so I get that, but hopefully it shakes out and it doesn't turn in, hopefully we're worried a lot about nothing, I hope. But it's a big concern.
Just a general question about that. Is that something we're supposed to be putting on our claim sheet for the month, or is it just a?
It was coordinated by AMC.
Okay.
So I would just list it as an AMC other event.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it's sponsored by AMC, I think you guys have already decided we're participating in that, so.
So the other thing,
And I may dumb down the list of things to just have AMC
No, instead of.
rather than all the specific AMCs, because if that list gets too long, it's hard to find things in there. So I'm gonna work with Jamie to kind of review that.
And somebody who last night was saying that they thought that the federal mileage rate was changing.
I haven't seen it.
I was
I
like,
wouldn't,
why?
I wouldn't be surprised if it went up, but it would typically go up,
January 1.
Yeah.
it would go up with the federal, so it would go up October.
Oh, it's October?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Isn't the federal fiscal year start October 1st? I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up. We adopted, our fee is to coordinate with the federal. So if that changes, our forms will change.
now Steve?
No.
I had the Northwest Emergency Communication Board, and the only thing I did is, some people reached out to me from Akeley area regarding handheld coverage over there, so I spoke with Brian. He's our kind of technician for the region, and he was going to explore if there's any options and what that might look like, so he was gonna get back to me once he put a little thought into it. It's not the first time he heard about it, so he was aware of it. And then, same thing, AMC Enbridge thing, we discussed that, and then the only other thing we have that, who's doing the department head next week?
I was there last month.
I think I was there the month
Yeah, I think
before.
it might be coming up on mine, but
No, it would probably be my turn. I haven't been there in quite some time. Now that I'm
Okay,
thinking
the
about it.
28th. So you're up, Steve?
So it's next Tuesday?
Yep.
I will write that on my calendar. It's good because
The 28th.
we have my son's dog for a whole week and a half, so it'll be a nice break.
What kind of dog?
Black Lab.
I'll come over and play.
And then meetings to note are, that building conflict resolution or resilience at Sourcewell on July 22nd, 9 AM to 3 PM, Staples.
I'm going to
Interesting.
that if anyone has a question they'd like me to ask. About that, just
So
let me know.
When you go to that, I'll try to do HIP then, from 12 to
Oh,
1.
yeah, because I let Angie know I wouldn't be there, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing
moved.
else.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned.